Hey everyone, MrHossie here, and if you caught my last video on RoadCraft, you'll know I put in a solid 20 hours into the demo, testing everything it had to offer. I gave you my honest first impressions, what worked, what didn't, and whether the game was shaping up to be something special. Well, we just got a big update from the developers, and they've responded directly to player feedback. There's a tiny bit of good news, some disappointing confirmations, and one big red flag for sim gamers. If you enjoy in-depth breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future updates. Now, let's get into what the devs have to say. They're thrilled by what the response to the demo has been. While over 2 billion kilometers driven, that's insane by the way, clearly people were eager to see what RoadCraft had to offer. But considering the game only managed a mixed rating on Steam, you have to wonder, what exactly are they so thrilled about? First, the tiny bit of good news, the performance issues. If you're playing on an AMD graphics card and had a rough time with the demo, you weren't alone. The devs admit the game isn't fully optimized yet, and they're working to fix it before launch. Now, I played on an Nvidia card and had a decent experience, but not without hiccups. But if you're on an AMD card and struggled with the demo, hopefully things improve before May 20th. Now let's talk about the realism, or rather, the lack of certain simulation elements. One of the most common complaints was the absence of fuel consumption, vehicle damage, and manual gearboxes. The devs have now confirmed that these features will not be making it into RoadCraft. Fuel management was apparently part of the game early in development, but was removed because it felt tedious and didn't add much to the core gameplay. Similarly, the vehicle damage was ruled out due to technical limitations, and the manual gearbox simply not happening. I get that they're trying to appeal to a more casual audience, but stripping away features that have been a staple of their previous games feels like a major step backwards. The whole point of these games is the challenge. Carefully maneuvering through rough terrain, managing your vehicle, and actually operating the heavy machinery. But in the RoadCraft demo, I barely had to think about any of that. Just throw everything into all-wheel drive with differential lock on, hold the right trigger, and you're golden. That's not very engaging, and that's just driving in a straight line. I was really expecting an evolution of SnowRunner's mechanics, or at least an inheritance of its best features, not a dilution of them. Right now, RoadCraft is sounding more like arcade than simulation, and if that's the direction they're going for, they need to be really upfront about it. Let me know in the comments, does the lack of these features change your excitement for RoadCraft? Personally, my excitement level is still pretty high. The game looks amazing, graphically and mechanically, but the lack of simulation elements is really gonna hurt them. Another talking point was the lack of the small immersive features, like the engine on-off, working headlights, a visible driver model. The devs say they focused on core gameplay first, but they're looking into adding some of these later, so there's still hope if you were missing those details. Next up, the crane controls they mentioned. If you played the demo, you probably noticed they felt a little odd and floaty. The idea was to allow simultaneous control of both cranes and vehicles for multitasking, but a lot of players really found it clunky. The devs heard the feedback and are working on alternative control schemes. No specifics yet, but at the least they're acknowledging the issue. So where does this leave us? RoadCraft is shaping up to be its own thing. Not quite SnowRunner like we expected, not quite the traditional construction sim, but somewhere in between. Some of these updates are a little promising, but others feel like huge missed opportunities. What do you think? Is RoadCraft still on your radar, or are these changes making you hesitant? And if you want to keep up with more RoadCraft updates, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this quick update and a look at the dev blog, feel free to check out more videos. And remember, always make time for games.